This is Kathy Puffer with Solar Cities. I am going to be talking about some basic safety precautions that we take as teachers when we are building our anaerobic biodigesters with Solar Cities. By no means is this comprehensive or foolproof for preventing all injuries, and we do encourage people to look at other resources for improving their own safety for when using power tools and liquids such as PVC glue. I always like to start with my toolkit. I carry a lot of safety equipment with me for each of my builds. So first thing is I always have everybody sign a release, recognizing that you are responsible for your own safety. And I encourage people to use some of these basic safety tools, such as goggles and latex gloves when using glue. And mainly I have the latex gloves because the glue that we use, the PVC glue, has a primer, and that primer is purple. I like to keep all of my liquids in a sealed Ziploc bag so they don't spill in my work case. And whenever I'm using PVC glue, before I close my lids, I always make sure I dry the inside of the lid, because if there's any glue on the inside, it causes this to seal. So I don't want any splash to happen when I open, and so that's why we wear these goggles, just in case there is splash, especially from the primer, which is a thin liquid. We don't want people to get that in their eye because it could blind somebody. And then using like a simple latex glove is great because it prevents the purple primer from staining the hands. Obviously in a room like this, you want to have the windows open when you're using this glue because it is toxic, and so you want to be able to vent the fumes. I highly recommend actually using this outside. I always carry rubbing alcohol with me for lubricating uniseals with pipes for when we're putting the pipes into the biodigester. And again, when I'm not using this, I seal it, prevent spillage and fumes. And the most common way that people tend to get injured is with cuts, and that's something we've been looking into a lot more for keeping people safe. So looking in my bag here, you will see that any of my circular hole saws I keep in a solid container. So it's in like plastic, and that way, I'm not going to cut myself when I reach in here to take out the jar. However, when I do want to use this saw blade right here, I always wear protective gloves that will prevent my hands from getting a nasty cut. These are for using blades. And I put on the glove first before I go ahead and I reach in to then pick up the saw blade, because as you can see, this is a very jagged edge, very sharp, very easy to cut the hands. Now, one of the most common ways people do get cut with these kinds of blades is that they are holding the pipe like that with their hand, or worse yet, holding it with an ungloved hand, and then the blade slips and then whoops, you could potentially lose a thumb. So what I really recommend now is, instead of using your hand to hold a pipe like this, but I recommend using a grip. And they're very easy to apply. You just have this release trigger here that you pull, and you widen the grip, and then you're going to grip this onto the table, and then I just pull the trigger like this, and as you can see, I've got a really tight grip. So then if I was using the hole saw, I would not have to hold this pipe with my hand, potentially having the blade slip and then cutting an ungloved hand or even cutting my wrist. We've had an accident before where we've had a wrist injury with this particular kind of blade. So safety, safety, safety when thinking about using, you know, these kinds of blades. So to release it, I just pull on the release trigger here, and you'll hear a little pop, and then I just wiggle it off like that. Simple. Yeah.